Brisbane Lions senior coach Chris Fagan and general manager of football David Noble share a history that spans much longer than 12 months. They both grew up here in Tasmania and were rivals in the State League. David Noble won 2 premierships with North Hobart, while Chris Fagan played his career across 3 different clubs, Devonport, Hobart and Sandy Bay, and he also took home 2 flags. Both went on to coach TAC Cup teams, were assistants at AFL clubs and have both been general managers. After all this time, the Tasmanian Hall of Famers have found themselves working alongside together at the Brisbane Lions. Today, we took a trip down memory lane.
There was nothing funny when we played against each other, it was war.
Yeah, exactly.
He was my favourite player.
Okay.
I stole his position out of one team.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's bragging now, it's true though. It was only because I was older and they were going for young blokes, which was very unfair by the coach at the time.
It's only because the coach liked me more.
Davo, bastard.
Yeah.
How would you describe the other one as a player when you guys were playing?
Elusive midfielder.
Is that all you got to say?
No, well you ran and you could never catch it. I tried a lot, but I could never.
Nose was a hard inside midfielder, won plenty of the ball. You always noticed him because he had a shock of blonde hair when he was a young fella. That's why I'd always get votes in the medal, because the umpires noticed him with his blonde hair. And it was real, it wasn't peroxide, which was the case for a lot of players back in that era. They'd peroxide their hair to get the votes for the...
What, like Darren Perry?
Darren Perry, Trent Nichols, I could name millions of them, mate.
Mickey Elmer?
Yeah, they all dyed their hair, but he didn't. His was real.
No,
And he was a bit younger than me, and no, he played a good hard brand of footy.
So who won more games, or how many premierships did you guys win when you played down here in Tassie?
The same, wasn't it?
2 each, I think.
2 each. I was involved in the flag as a 19-year-old with Hobart Footy Club, they were the Tigers, in 1980, and then I played in another one in 1988 with Devonport Footy Club, and Noves will tell you the ones he played in, so we're equal in that score.
87 and 89, so Fag sort of split a little era that we were in. We got knocked out in the 88 by Bernie, and then you guys played Glenorchy in the GF that year?
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember when you guys got knocked out because you played Bernie at the Devonport Oval,
Yeah.
and that was a bloodbath, that game, wasn't it?
It was.
A lot of North Hobart players ended up in hospital after that game. I couldn't believe it.
There was nearly a lawsuit as a result of it.
Yeah. So
But,
it was pretty rough and ready, the footy down here. We were obviously very clean players.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
You can say the Tasmanians are passionate about their footy then with that much sort of fighting.
Well, certainly, I mean, we don't live here anymore, but that was certainly the case when we were youngsters coming up. If you couldn't be good enough to play VFL, which Nobe's got a bit of a chance to do, you wanted to play in the State League in Tassie. It was quite a prestigious competition to be involved with. The whole state followed it, and lots of passionate supporters for each team. And in that era, there were lots of ex-AFL players down here coaching, and a lot of people used to turn up and watch the footy. It was nothing to turn up to a home and away game at North Hobart Oval and have 10,000 people there, which now, unfortunately, you turn up and there's probably 500 to 800 people there. But there wasn't as much AFL footy on TV in those days, so people were way more passionate about their footy, and it was very tribal. And if you change clubs, which I did a couple of times,
Yeah. He was the enemy to everyone.
You'd cop a bit of stick when you walk down the street. So, yeah. I don't know, how do you find it, Notes?
Tribal is the right way to describe it. I think both of our dads played, and back then, when we came through, there were 3 leagues. There was the NTFL, the NWFU, and the TFL, and they were in the 3 pockets around the state, weren't they? And there were bitter rivals in those areas as to who played the best football. And there was lots of great players from all of those regions, from historically that played for Tassie. So that passion was built, really early on. And then when they went to a statewide league, as Fag said, you could be playing a top billing game at Bellareve and have 8,000 or 10,000 people turn up. It was great, to have that type of following and have that passion. As you said, of people watching the footy. Back in those days, it was Saturday night replay, you know, the VFL, and then you'd have the Sunday game, you'd have a roast at home, and you'd be watching the Sydney Swans play. Or Friday night, you'd be watching North Melbourne play. So,
Or don't forget the bit about we'd play on Saturday and we'd all go out Saturday night.
Yeah,
we'd all try to kill each other on Saturday afternoon, and we're all good mates by about midnight on Saturday nights. It was a great time.
yeah, it was. It really was.
So is it special to bring back your team now for the second time to Tasmania, where you've got such happy memories and where your love of footy really started?
I suppose that's a hard one to answer, because the main reason we come down here is we know there's great facilities to train at, and we saw this morning with Tas Uni Stadium that it's a beautiful surface, and the weather's a bit cooler than it is in Brisbane at this time of the year, so we're really trying to give our players a little bit of physical relief from the humidity and the heat that they train in on a regular basis. So that's the main reason for coming down here. Yeah, I like coming back because I've got friends and family and all that down here that I get to see, and I suppose in a funny sort of way you get a bit of a sense of pride that, you know, we're bringing the team down here that Nobes is the general manager of and I'm the coach of, so there's something special about that, I guess.
It brings back fond memories, you know, of the times that you played at the ground and how it was and how it's now advanced, you know, how the AFL has helped transform the stadium, and it's great that, you know, the people down here from where we came from now have access to AFL clubs, you know, and the capacity for them to touch and feel. And, you know, there was a young guy I was talking to this morning plays a Prospect, you know, to be able to put that for those people down here to come and see us train. Yeah, it's a great experience, I think, all around.
Pretty different looking stadium now, that stadium. Yeah. When we played, there was a big hedge up the back at one end, and all the kids used to sit up there and catch the footies as they went through the goals, and then around the far, there was a train line that go past, and then around that far wing that's where all the cars parked. So when you kicked a goal, the horns would toot. They were tooting non-stop when he played up here because he just kept kicking goals.
I tried, but that's right. That was the picture that we have of the ground from when we played. Yeah, some funny memories, some funny characters that we would have played against. We both would have played against.
Yeah, did you play against that Tony Brand fella?
Yeah, he knocked me out.
He was the one that had all tattoos. He played for North Launceston. He was a really tough guy, and he was one to be avoided. I remember I was tagging Jamie Dennis one day, who played in the same team, and he spent all day trying to get me. Tony Brand.
Yeah, he got me. I obviously wasn't as fast as you.
We
played him in a final up here, I reckon it was 87.
Yeah.
First quarter, and yeah, got knocked out clean as a whistle.
Yeah.
So no video reports back then.
That was footy back then.
It was. It was.
The law of the jungle.
Yep. Absolutely.
Only the fit survive.
Yeah.
And is it crazy to think, you know, you played all your junior footy and state league footy, and now this time together, now you're working together here at Brisbane Lions, and you've had such a history together playing football, or playing against each other, I should say.
Yeah, we've sort of had a history that goes longer than playing. We obviously played against each other, but we've sort of coached in the same. Our pathways have gone along similar ways, I guess. We both sort of. Well, Nobes, I think, coached a bit in Melbourne. I coached a bit in Tassie, and then we both ended up coaching TAC Cup teams. I coached the Tassie Mariners, and he coached the Rams, and then, lo and behold, I get a job at Melbourne Footy Club as the reserves and development coach, and he bobs up at the Western Bulldogs in the same role. And you know, Nobes has done some different things, like he's done recruiting and list management. We've both been GMs of footy. We've both been assistant coaches at AFL clubs. So it's probably only right we ended up together, mate.
It's probably only one thing to do is to work together. And we'd always converse sort of across the journey on different industry issues, or whenever we sort of bumped in, you know, to each other at different venues. So, you know, different GM meetings and, you know, drafts and, you know, trade periods and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah. Get
a bit of advice off each other from time to time, which was good, because you need that.
Soft cap or staff issues or player issues or, as I said, industry issues that we'd quite often, you know, bring about.
And lastly, how have the past 12 months been for you guys as at the Brisbane Lions?
You can go first.
Well, I think for me, I was talking to the board on Wednesday. It's probably been one of my most enjoyable years, I think. You know, I guess the challenge of the unknown when you sort of first walk in, and you know, Fade sort of made mention of it early on when I think he first landed. It's never as bad and it's never as good, you know, as what it seemed. But I think the challenge collectively that we had in front of us has been really accepted well by staff and players to a man or woman, and I think that's been really refreshing, you know, to sort of come into an environment like that was really hungry, you know, to get better and have success, and that's been the most enjoyable part of it, is to see the improvement in our players. But I think behind the scenes for me, and Face can talk more from the players, but the improvement in the staff, you know, and how they've grown as a group, I think has been really exciting for us going forward.
Yeah, for me, I think our players and our staff think differently now, 12 months on. I think probably when we first turned up, for whatever reason, there was a lot of pessimism around the footy club and maybe some doubts as to whether the Lions could become a strong club again. But I think that everybody that works here now, including the players, don't think that. I think they're really striving to be excellent now, and they believe that they can. The second half of the year, I think, helped with that belief, with a lot of young players in the team who were able to win quite a few more games. I've seen it in the way that they train now. They train completely differently to the way that they trained 12 months ago. I see it in their attitude towards the team. They own it now. I think back then they felt like it was all up to the coaches to do all that stuff, but the players now own it and they're driving the standards. They want to be good. They want to earn respect from the competition, and they've taken some big strides in that direction. It won't be easy. There's a lot of hard work still to be done, but I think we feel like some good foundations have been laid. You know, I've stupidly mentioned after a game we played Collingwood this year about the three little pigs, and we're trying to build a house of bricks that's going to stand up for a long time for Brisbane Lions Footy Club, whether Nobes and I are here or not. We just want to, I think, leave that legacy, and hopefully we can be a part of real success. But if we can't be, we want to make sure that Brisbane is successful in the future. So by the work that we do now.
Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the camp.
All right.
Thanks. Go Lions.